Hey everyone, hope you're doing well, having a great day, great night, wherever you guys are. We have some very interesting stories for all of you today on today's episode of CSGO News. Alright guys, this first segment's going to be a long one because I've never had a CSGO news story like this one. I want to show you guys a picture of a guy on screen. That's Josh, just 14 years of age, accused of playing 60 hours of video games every single week. Now first off, I want to get my bias out of the way. If 60 hours is the hard set rule where if you go above 60 hours of gameplay or video games every single week and we send you to rehab, well then I'm guilty. Many of you guys are probably guilty as well, but unfortunately enough, I got to get rid of my bias out here guys and stick to the facts. So it's going to be a longer story for all of you. Time markers are down below. So first off, breaking down this story for all of you, Josh is just 14 years old, playing allegedly 8 to 12 hours of video games every single day, which I do agree is certainly not healthy. Now, Josh's parents, the story gets even better, guys, apparently took his computer away to try and solve the issue. Let's break down the story for all of you as well. If your kid plays 60 hours of video games every single week and you don't break it down notch by notch, like say 50 hours this week, 40 hours next week, like you would usually treat a regular addict for, any other drug out there or any other thing out there, you take him down notch by notch. You don't just make him quit cold turkey. They took his computer away and quote unquote, here's what the parents reportedly said. They said, yes, they actually said they saw changes in his behavior. That's all they reported. Oh, really? Your son was playing 60 hours of computer video games or CSGO every single week, and you saw changes in his behavior when you took away his computer? Seems kind of weird. I don't understand why Josh would change his behavior. Not like you just ruined his daily routine without breaking it down notch by notch. You just made him quit altogether. Of course you saw changes in the behavior, but the story gets better as Josh's parents actually allegedly one night dragged him. They forcibly removed him from his house to drag him off to Utah to go to a rehab center. So once again, I go back to my previous point. Have you guys ever played more than 60 hours of video games in one single week? I certainly have. Does that mean I should be in rehab? Probably not, but it gets even better because the doctors, once at the rehab center, actually told ABC News, covered by a large TV network here in America, guys, they actually told this genius quote to the reporters. They said, excessive gaming causes changes in brain activity. Let me repeat that quote and show you guys the paragraph on screen. Yes, these ingenious doctors that are probably making 6 figures a year said this: excessive gaming causes changes in brain activity. Oh, who would have guessed that, dude? Excessive anything causes changes in brain activity, you numbnut. And me looking at the lamp behind me or in front of the camera right now causes changes in brain activity. And of course, video games are going to cause that. They didn't give us anything. It was a very, very broadened report, and this was actually covered. Here's the main problem with my story, guys. I tweeted out about this, about American news networks and just large news networks around the world, guys. ABC, ESPN, CNN, all of these stories that are covered when it comes to whether it's a gambling addict. I talked about this on ESPN. They covered a gambling addict story. They always contort it and make it look like video games is the problem. They never blame the parents. They rarely blame the kid, especially for the gambling story. They never blame the parents there. And in this case, individually, they went on to blame CSGO and video games. Actually, it was covered by ABC News. Live on air, they went on to continue to actually berate CSGO. They went on to blame CSGO even further for violent video games because, as many of you guys know, many months ago, CSGO changed their sound updates and actually changed their gun sounds to more realistic gunfire. ABC News actually used this in their actual article to blame violent video games like CSGO for making their video games closely related to actual real-life violence and therefore blaming them for being more violent. Totally separate of the issue that the kid in the story is actually addicted to video games, they went on to blame CSGO for causing violence. And so that is why I hate big news networks out there that cover video games. They have no idea what they're talking about. They say smart things like, causes changes in brain activity. Oh, who would have known? So that was our first story for all of you. Sorry it was such a long one. Josh, 14 years of age. I'm sure you're probably not watching this because your parents took your computer away and you're in a rehab center for playing video games. I think there was a much better way to go about this. Leave your comments down below, guys, what you think about this first story. And in shorter CSGO news stories for all of you, yesterday we had Fnatic Dennis tweet out this about the UMP. And why did he exactly say the UMP is still OP or overpowered? Well, because many of you know about a couple days ago we had Operation Hydra release. With that release, guys, we also had this update and nerf to the UMP, which actually reduced its range range modifier from 0.85 to 0.75. A breakdown for all of you, it makes it more consistent with other SMGs, which means in long range battles, pretty much battles over 500 units of distance away, kind of a weird wording for all of you guys, pretty much all long range battles, it has now been made highly inaccurate. And I can tell you guys, I can attest to this, I tried it out myself. Now over long ranges, I think of when I think about this, I go to dust, I go to long, and I actually try and spray it down long. Yes, it is now made highly inaccurate on long range battles. Now, why I actually agree with Dennis here on his tweet, I'll repost it for all of you guys. I agree with Dennis on two fronts. The fact that the UMP is still not nerfed. Now, I agree though, it's definitely a step in the right direction by Valve. You can't obviously, we had the Tech 9 nerf a long time ago where they reduced the bullets from 32 to 24. It was not the most immense nerfing step, but it's still a step in the right direction. But I do agree with Dennis on two fronts that the UMP is still going to be heavily used. For one reason, for two reasons actually. First of all, is the short and mid-range battles are still going to be heavily overpowered for the UMP. The distance there is still not enough, and the range modifier does not affect that. The UMP is still heavily accurate, especially in short-range battles, and still slightly in mid-range battles, which of course are going to be used quite a bit for that. Now, even more importantly for all of you, what I think about this is the price is the thing that should have been nerfed itself. The UMP is still only $1,200, one of the cheaper SMGs out there, still cheaper than the MP7 by a long shot, and still cheaper than the MP9 even as well. And even besides the opening round pistols as well as second half pistols, besides those two rounds, you can almost always, every single round of the game, guys, forcibly buy up to a UMP and Kevlar, which still makes it slightly overpowered. All you need is $18.50 the entire game to buy a UMP and Kevlar, and that's why I personally think it's still overpowered. Is the UMP really nerfed? Slightly. We're in the step in the right direction, but hopefully more so in the future if Valve actually wants to make a difference to how much people use the M4 or the AK compared to the UMP. And then some quick roster change news for all of you. We were correct 3 days ago. Valde is actually on the market and free, open to other teams to sign him sometime soon, which we do expect. Valde, being one of those better heroic players, was actually benched last week by their coach on Team Heroic and replaced by Cadian for the Clone qualifiers. Now the team did manage to go to qualify for that. It's kind of funny because Cadian stood up for Team Heroic for Katowice and they qualified there too. But yes, Valde was benched spontaneously for no reason, no release reason at the time. And yes, he does seem to be on the market. He was actually benched on that team because allegedly he was very inconsistent with what he wanted in the future or for the future of Team Heroic. So kind of funny story because we've had this happen in the past with Team Heroic, and Yugi, one of their players as well, had a problem with Tricked Esports. He was actually benched on Tricked Esports and picked up by Heroic because he didn't know what he wanted for the future of Tricked Esports. Kind of ironic there, guys, but a separate story. So Valde is on the market. He is also making jokes about being on the bench, but we do seem likely, guys, because of his talent, he will be signed sometime soon by some organization or some team out there. So best of luck to him. And lastly, today's episode of CSGO News, I couldn't touch on all the updates for all of you in yesterday's video. Some more updates for you about the Operation Hydra and what came out in the patch notes. It does seem this was not intention by Valve. They actually changed the maximum round loss bonus to 3. They did not intend to change that. I'll show you guys tweets on screen. And also the new patch notes just released a few hours ago. The maximum round loss bonus has been fixed and changed back to 4. So do not worry. It won't affect big tournaments. It won't affect the big competitive teams out there. That has now been fixed, guys. Maximum round loss bonus was not initially in the actual patch notes itself. So it was a glitch and it was now been fixed by Valve. So great response on them. They fixed that within almost 24 hours. Now on top of that, I want to show you guys the brand new maps. We do have 4 new maps and 3 returning maps for this new operation because of course Valve didn't have long enough. They only had a year to make 7 maps. They could only make 4, but it's okay. Some of those maps are actually very cool. Even further, guys, you can now drop a Zeus in any single game mode in CSGO. When they first released this patch note, I thought it was only going to be in the casual, the 6 new casual game modes they actually released. No, you can actually drop a Zeus whenever you want. Even if you guys you want to drop the Zeus, pick it back up and use it again, you can now drop in whatever game mode in CSGO you guys play. Now lastly, on top of that, I also want to talk about very briefly in deathmatch servers. I've certainly noticed this myself because I always use this to my own ability. When you go low on health in deathmatch, many of you guys know when a special weapon pops up or the bonus weapon pops up, you instantly click that button. You actually go and you want to respawn with full health in that new bonus weapon and then rebuy back your old weapon, if that made sense. I probably said that way too fast. But now in deathmatch, when you actually spawn in with that bonus weapon or change to that bonus weapon, you do not respawn. You keep your location, you keep your current health, which is probably a pretty good update. So now when you take damage in deathmatch, you are permanently at that HP because people were doing that all the time where you'd shoot at someone and a bonus weapon would pop up and they click that G button and all of a sudden they disappear out of nowhere and you had the kill in your sights and all of a sudden they were gone. So it kind of sucks for all of you people out there who abuse that system like myself, but it's okay. Probably a good update there. A lot of good updates and fixes coming soon for the operation, of course. So Valve is doing a great job keeping on top of that. Operation has some great hype to it and hopefully you guys are all enjoying the new operation. Now a quick breakdown, guys. I'm going on vacation this weekend for an entire week. Starting next week, I'm trying to pre-record videos for all of you. So please, most importantly, leave a question down below. I'm doing a Q&A with my sister later today or tomorrow. So please Comment down below a question you have for me or my sister or anything out there, guys. Please leave a question down below, and I'll reply to as many comments as possible. Thank you guys all for the great support lately. I hope you guys all enjoy this video of CSGO News. I will see you all next time. Remember, live, love, laugh a lot. Remember, I like you. Goodbye. Goodbye.